Great. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I am Imani, and we have a wonderful evening here with Erica Mapule McInnis this evening. So let me share a little bit about Erica with you. Dr. Erica Mapule McInnis is a chartered clinical psychologist in the UK and the founder, director, and principal clinical psychologist for Nubia Wellness and Healing, NWAH. She was a keynote speaker on African-centered approaches to mindfulness and meditation for coming home to racial healing and justice, an online event, October 2020, Buddhists across traditions. She's also devised an African-centered mindfulness series for the app Mind Labs. So without further ado, welcome, Erica.
Thank you, and I'm so pleased to be here and preaching to the converted. It's so nice to be in such a warm environment and to be where somebody else has warmed everybody up. So I'm going to share my screen because I prepared a PowerPoint presentation. So can everybody see? Somebody put a thumbs up if they can see my... Yeah, thank you so much. So my session is going to be strategies to rest, renew and recover for people of African ancestry despite challenging times. But this is actually applicable to all people, really. But it's really come from the point of view that if we can't get the system of white supremacy to lay off us or other people to treat us better, it's about how can we cope as best we can, yeah? And developing those skills that we can be resilient and even learn from disorder, that we can become more equipped and more adept at dealing with it. So, first of all, I'm going to check in with you and ask you how you're feeling. And as you know, I practice from an African-centered point of view. In African psychology, there's a concept of diunital, where different things can be happening at the same time. Yes, so you can be feeling, you may want to choose something from the fearing column, and also something from the affirming column, something from the manifesting column, something from the mobilizing column, something from the bringing column. So does anybody want to share either aloud or in the chat how they're feeling?
I'll share. It's interesting looking at your columns here. Right. And I may or may not pick things out of there as feels. Definitely fearing in some sense, or feeling, if not personally afraid, certainly feeling the fear that is abroad in the world. Yeah. Affirming, yeah, I'm discovering for sure. Embracing, cultivating, and nurturing. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And some of you may want to jot down how you're feeling, and we'll do a check-in at the end as well. The other thing that I want to do is just kind of go through what I call my spirit navigation for this session, sat nav. We're going to do a little bit of a grounding exercise, then explore what we need to rest from. What is mindfulness? What is soulfulness, which is an African-centered mindfulness method? Why do we need it? Practice it. We're going to go into breakout rooms as well, and then I'll tell you about some resources if you want to go further with taking an African-centered approach to well-being. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, sounds good. All right. So we'll just take a moment just to settle ourselves. You may want to close your eyes and listen to this short piece of music.
Spaces for the silence. And the things I need to say. places for the victory, and the pockets of pain for the revelation, and what questions remain. I'm learning to breathe and hold the space. Oh, spaces for the silence and the things I need to say. Places for the victory and the pockets of pain for the revelations and what questions remain. I'm learning to breathe and hold the space. Yeah, I'm learning to breathe and hold the space.
So this is the space that the Mindfulness Network for People of Colour have put together for us, and an interesting for you to reflect upon. You know, this is your space. What do you want this space to be for? And the reason why I start with a soulful and mindful moment is that we use the sympathetic nervous system to get ourselves here, to get ourselves going, get ourselves doing things. But if we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, and we use music, which the rhythm of the drum, the rhythm of the beat, is often most accessible to people of African ancestry. That contributes to calming the nervous system. And when we're calmer, we can take in information better. When I used to work with young people, when we found that some of the children weren't learning, it was because they were too traumatized to learn. Yeah, when people are more rested in themselves, they can take in information a lot better. So, what is it that we need this space to be escaped from? What's life like when you're living while black or living while brown in the world? So I'm going to play this piece of music, and then yeah, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on it.
You may write me down in a history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me down in the very dirt, and still like the dust I'll rise. Does my happiness upset you? Why are you best with gloom? 'Cause I laugh like I got an oil well pumping in my living room. So you may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, and I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, 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 out of the shacks of history's shame, up from a past rooted in pain. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, rise, rise. Now did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops weakened by my soul cries? Does my confidence upset you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I walk like I've got a diamond mine breaking up in my front yard. So you may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, and I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, 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 out of the shacks of history's shame, up from a past rooted in pain. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, rise, rise. So you may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me down in the very dirt, and still like the dust I'll rise. Does my happiness upset you? Why are you best with gloom? 'Cause I laugh like I've got a gold mine digging up in my living room. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, and I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, of the shacks of history's shame, up from a past rooted in pain. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, yes I'll rise. So you may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, and I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, 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 out of the shacks of history's shame, up from a past rooted in pain. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, rise, rise.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Yeah. Be interesting to know your thoughts about that piece of music. Please feel free to unmute yourself or to put in the chat.
I recognize it from Serena Williams, is it?
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
That's the poem that she reads, isn't it?
Well, Maya Angelou's words, but other people may have read it as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I recognise it from that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I suppose those words were written possibly in the 1960s and they're still relevant today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Erica, I was allowing it to kind of just open me up, really. You know, like I literally just took those words, I rise, and just to visualize all my cells just kind of being nourished and really opening up, you know, and relaxing. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
very,
was
very affirmative.
yeah, I was just saying that was Maya Angelou. Yeah, I recognise that one. But yeah, powerful poem.
I was just going to echo everyone else. It's just quite affirmative and joyful and gets you moving, and it's the ultimate somatic experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I think also for what it's about, you know, what it was originally written about, it's very calming. It's a very calming presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. So it sounds like most of us will be able to identify with times when we felt oppressed. And as I said, I practice from an African-centered point of view, and it is about what a common experience is of people of African ancestry. And when analysing oppression, Dr. Shelley Howell came up with 5 Ds, and I've added 2 more. And the first one is dehumanization in terms of how we were treated, enslavement, colonization, but also present day. You know, we may be in workplaces where people take pleasure in humiliating us or being difficult to us, or when we're out shopping, sometimes we're being followed around in a rather dehumanizing way. I've known people come and tell me that in workplaces they're over-policed and under-protected. Yeah, so it's treated as less than human. The delusion, our achievements obscured, stereotypes or allegations that we're criminal, sometimes set up to fail in terms of the conditions that we're placed in. Disempowerment, so sometimes we can have structural power in terms of a title, but be functionally powerless in terms of people don't cooperate with us or they hide information. Disconnection, so disconnection from our land, our family, our origins, each other. Quite often we need to travel to another country or travel somewhere else in that country to get the better opportunities. Destruction, so destroying our achievements, past, present and future, but at the same time then putting those things that they've taken into museums. And distraction, giving us one problem after another problem. So even some of the things in the wider world that is being circulated, to some extent, it is good knowing what's going on, but it's at another level traumatizing us, seeing people who look like us being treated like that. And dispiriting, lowering our vibration through oppression, and then sometimes saying that we have a bad attitude when we are on a low vibe because of what's happened to us. So it'd be interesting to know what people's thoughts are on the 7 Ds. Did it resonate with anybody? Yeah. Any comments before I move on?
I can test, you know, all of those I've gone through at some time in my life.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And the fact that it's so common across the world in any colonial or colonial settler society.
Mm. It's almost as if they studied this to know how to oppress us. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, Stuart, a really good point you mentioned. Mentioned the 7Ds from across. Yeah, every single year of your life, there'll probably be an example of one of these. Yeah. Okay. Gonna have another soulful moment. So, you may want to close your eyes and take part. How was that? How did you find that?
Soothing.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And one of the things about the breath is that is a way of down regulating the nervous system, and it's something that's with us all the time. You don't need any expensive equipment. You can just go to the toilet or go for a quiet moment and just do a breathing. And I think I find that particular piece of music, I can get into the rhythm of breathing in and out with it. Okay. So, the reason why I put this up is about a lot of the experiences that we're having. If you think back to the song, which was the words of Maya Angelou, it's trauma that we're experiencing. Yeah, they talk about even racial combat fatigue and racial trauma, and the impact. Individual trauma results from an event, series of events, or set of circumstances that is experienced by an individual as physically or emotionally harmful or life-threatening, and that has lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and mental, physical, social, emotional, or spiritual well-being. And what we're seeing going on in the world, in Gaza, what's happening to Palestinian people, there's even what you call vicarious trauma, where you can pick up on the trauma by watching it as well. And Black people, we've got that as well as the everyday experiences that we can sometimes have, living while Black, shopping while Black, driving while Black, trying to do anything while Black. And it's got to the point where it's collective trauma. Trauma reaches a level where it negatively impacts entire societies or groups of people. And it includes war, mass violence, genocide, and pandemics. The COVID-19 pandemic was a pandemic for everybody, but particularly for people of African ancestry, because often we run at the front line, and we're the people who got affected most by it. Okay. So trauma in people of colour. And I've put this together in terms of some of the things that people have told me about, some of the things that I've experienced. And it'd be interesting to know what people's views are on this. But there's been studies that have shown that Black people have disproportionately faced disciplinaries in the workplace. In terms of a blind eye is turned to the same behaviour done by white people, and if it's a Black person doing it, it gets escalated. Having a low sense of belonging or safety, so people can make you feel as if you don't belong. Often the most work, but the least resources. Placed in the most dysfunctional teams or areas with the most social pressures. Multiple stresses at the same time. Housing, health, family, education, work, children, and sometimes it's family back home as well. Fear of disciplinary action. Racial combat fatigue. Getting tired of things, citizenship pressures, sus laws always being thought of as about to do something in the middle of doing something wrong or having just done something wrong, feeling excluded, most complicated cases, working under threat of stress of dismissal, police and authority brutality, disproportionately lower pay for skills, intergenerational trauma. Talks about vicarious trauma when you're witnessing it, working in hostile teams, wards, offices, trauma in the family, trauma in the womb in terms of cortisol chemical going across the placenta, so you get children who are born traumatized. Procedures often weaponized against us, disproportionately living or working in unsafe places, which can have sometimes drug and knife crime. And white people can be seen as expats when they go abroad, but Black people and brown people are often seen as immigrants. Any thoughts on that? Does it resonate?
You've just described my job.
Yeah.
Seriously. I used to work in the police, and now I scrutinise the police.
Yes, yeah. And those of us who thought that, well, if you got ourselves a good job, we would almost like outgrow racism. We'd elevate ourselves above racism. What we find is that we're just meeting in a different place, in a different way. Yeah. So what are the reactions of trauma? Got the 5 Fs. So we've got like to fight, so verbal or physical aggression, or to take out a grievance, for example, if you're in the workplace, to stand up for yourself, to say something. Flight, to avoid it, run away, resign, leave the job, go back home, freeze, where you can't think, can't move, can't decide. Sometimes it's like presenteeism. You can turn up for the job, but you can't actually do it because it's just too traumatic. Flop, which is kind of like people can physically collapse, faint, feel sick, become unwell. But when cortisol is in your body for such a long time, it can actually make you physically unwell. So people become, sick. And friend, to befriend, to try and be kind to the aggressor in the hope that they'll like you and lay off you. Does that resonate with anybody, or can people see that?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, in terms of the friend, is that the people-pleasing kind of element? Is that what that could
Yes.
be?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a reaction to trauma.
Mm-hmm.
We get to try and appeal to the person's kind of good side. I think, if I do everything right, they'll like me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or else called appeasement, which is so common, I think, in many of us, and often not recognized because it becomes such a personality trait that we are wanting to keep the peace and not bother, that stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, Du Bois talks about double consciousness, to say that we start to actually even think of things from the point of view of the oppressor, because at the end of the day, you just want a peaceful life, so you want them to lay off you. Yeah. Let's see what's in the chat. Oh, Stuart's put it in there, yeah. That's why we need a brave space like this, that we can be ourselves. Yeah. Okay. So I've put this together. This is the window of tolerance in trauma. Yeah. And I don't know if some of you are familiar with this model, but what it's saying is that when we're in fight or flight, because of what the traumatic event has done to us, that can use up energy. So that's when sometimes people can kind of like, you're eating a lot, or sometimes kind of like, you're feeling tired because it wears you out. And your threat perception can be high. So we've talked about here kind of like hypervigilance can happen if people are in fight mode, or people can become controlling or angry. And sometimes that anger is justified. It's about what you do with the anger. Yeah. Rigidity, if I control everything and keep everything the same, then it's less likely to surprise me, and I feel as if I feel better with it. Impulsivity, yeah. Or flight, moving away from things, giving in. Anxiety, people pleasing, leaving jobs, migrating, going home, that type of thing. So that's the fight, yeah. And when we're in our window of tolerance, then we can feel energized, yeah. And that's when you can take in new experiences. You can experience joy, you can experience love, you can connect with others, be mindful, grounded. Sometimes people can't even do mindful activities because they're in the fight or flight or in the freeze. Yeah, so people need to actually do things that can bring them into their window of tolerance, where they can then feel settled. Because if you're hypervigilant and you're wondering about there's going to be a danger, you're not going to really maybe close your eyes in front of somebody, or you're not going to even kind of like be able to stop and think, because all you'd have is negative automatic thoughts coming into your head. So that's where, those soulful moments that we've done, like with the music, for some people that can be a way of just down regulating the body, that they can then find it more accessible to then do the mindfulness thing that we're talking about. So when people are in their window of tolerance, they can feel content, feel safe and secure. Feeling safe and secure can sometimes be a state of mind. You can feel secure in a war zone, or you can feel unsafe in one of the most safest places going. It's about where you put your mind and how you feel. Yeah. Being able to experience compassion or empathy. If people are in fight or flight, they can't think of other people's views because they're too busy wrapped up in their own. People can regulate their emotions when they're in their window of tolerance, be alert and have rational thinking. They can play. They can stay and play. If people are in fight or flight, they can't play, they can't have jokes. Yeah? Rest and digest, and even resistance to infection. And if people are in the freeze, their reactions, that's when people can feel overwhelmed and have brain fog, zoning out. And these things can be momentary, yeah, because you can do things that perhaps can put you back into your window of tolerance. Be on autopilot, dissociate, feel numb, give up, shut down, low mood, helplessness, hopelessness, stop caring, feel trapped, memory loss, reduced or no display of emotions, so feeling flat. People can be wanting to conserve energy. Everything's too much bother. Feeling drained, even take to their bed and prepare for death. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on this. Does it resonate?
Yep.
Yeah, hearing a yes. Yeah. Okay. I'll just check the chat. Yeah. Oh, post-traumatic growth. I'm glad you've put that in the chat, Stuart. Yeah, and that is one of the things that can definitely come out of trauma. And it depends on what you do with it. If you do some of the mindful activities that and some of the things that we're suggesting, that can help people go into their window of tolerance, that the trauma can be productive for them. Yeah. Okay. So this is about the 4 emotional regulation systems, and it's building upon the work of Dr. Paul Gilbert. He talked about 3 emotional regulation systems, but I've added a 4th one of the spiritual as well. So if we start off with the threat, and the function of kind of like realizing threats is that you can protect yourself and you can survive, seek safety. And the hormones that are released are like adrenaline, fight or flight, or cortisol for stress, and associated feelings of anger, anxiety, disgust, criticism. If people feel threatened, they can criticize others. But the risk is that the MIAFA, the African Holocaust, and intergenerational trauma gets worse. Yeah. And you become ill, but there is an opportunity of some safety if you are always on the lookout. Yeah, you've got the drive system, which is the system of the body, which helps you to achieve goals, to consume things, to accomplish tasks, and that's where you have dopamine as the hormone, which is a chemical in the body, release going around the body, which is like a reward system. So this gets reinforced when you do something and you have a success, like there's a tick in your head and there's hormones release, and then you do it again. Which is one of the reasons why, unfortunately, some people get into drugs, because they get a dopamine high from it, and they're always chasing the next high. But it's kind of like you get to the point where the effects of the drugs actually the ill effects outweigh the positive effects. So then what we're looking at is whether people can get a high from meditation or mindfulness or other approaches. The drive system, that's about wanting, pursuing, achieving, being happy. But there's a risk of John Henryism, where in Black people in particular, we're always trying to do 110%, that we can end up wearing ourselves out. But the drive system, it is useful and it gives us the opportunity to serve. Yeah. So what we're finding is that you need to get a balance between these systems, yeah, and rotate between them rather than being stuck in one or the other, being stuck in the threat system or stuck in the drive system. I think for quite a lot of Black people, we get into the drive system because we seem to think if we educate ourselves, we can out-educate ourselves from racism, by being the most qualified, having the, those types of things. And what we find is that it does give us some protection, but it's, it doesn't go all the way. Yeah. The spiritual system is like knowing yourself, having a creator bond, things that can tap into your energy, your sense of purpose, having a destiny, being able to transcend and transmute oppression. So that's a bit like what Stuart was talking about in terms of in the chat about post-traumatic growth. It's what you do with the oppression. Savouring the good, so maybe reflecting at the end of the day on 3 good things that have happened. Your third eye, in terms of kind of like developing your spiritual ability just to sense what's going on, and connecting with good elders and ancestors, and that can be part of being spiritual. And that can lead to feelings of fulfillment, release hormones like serotonin, the happy hormones. But there's a risk if you don't do the spiritual stuff of decay, yeah? And doing the spiritual stuff gives you the opportunity for growth. And then the other system that we need to keep topped up is the soothing system, where you slow down, you rest and digest, you do things which release hormones such as oxytocin, which is the love hormone. So sometimes people having pets or having hugs from people or an act of kindness to others often gets releases the oxytocin hormone, and you get kindness back to you as well. And if you don't do the soothing activities, there is a risk of burnout, and it gives you the opportunity for ancestral and current rest if you're doing things a bit like the NAF ministry, where it's about what can you do to down-regulate yourself. So any thoughts about this emotional regulation system? Does it resonate with people?
Very much so, very much so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember spending a few years in the drive system and how taxing that was on the health.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think what we said is about So maybe there'll be chapters in your life where you need to be in different systems. Maybe after a chapter in the drive system, it may be a chapter that's more weighted towards the soothing system, or a chapter that's more related to the spiritual system. Okay. So, strategies to rest, renew, and recover. A lot of kind of like philosophies have this. Mayat, the ancient Egyptian, the Kemetic tradition has the goddess Mayat, who signifies balance. In Hindu, the Hindu faith, the Vishnu, the god of balance. Islamic faith, they have a concept of balance in life. In Buddhism, the middle path. And Stoic, the ancient Greeks, talked about temperance. So really, this idea of kind of like trying to keep a balance between the emotional regulation systems, it's there within our culture, but quite often what we hear about is about the drive system, to say that, you know, we must be achieving things. And it made me think of something that was said by, I think it was John Lennon. They asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, happy. Whereas normally that question is about what career do you want? But it's about, what are we striving for? And sometimes to be in balance, we need to be in imbalance. So depending on how your life is, you may sometimes want to fatten one of these other these systems to balance yourself out in a way. Let's check the chat. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Okay. So, any thoughts about that? Okay. So I'm going to play another little piece of music to raise our vibration. So you may want to close your eyes. I sometimes have a scent that I put on my hands and I smell to help inhale.
Easily find and joyously create abundance. I 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 easily find and joyously create abundance.
Okay. What are your thoughts? How do you feel after listening to that?
Optimistic.
Yeah. And when we think from I don't know if anybody's trained in cognitive behavior therapy, but when you think about negative automatic thoughts that are going through people's head, what if we listen to positive automatic thoughts? And if you regularly listen to mantras, could that then at a moment of rest get our minds thinking along that vibration of abundance? And then if you're thinking about abundance, you're more likely to see abundance and develop an abundance mindset as opposed to a poverty and a lack mindset.
Elaine says ancestral, and Stuart says tweaking a new poem.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so strategies to rest, renew, and recover. Okay. So, what is mindfulness? I'm saying this because, you know, sometimes it's always good to go back to basics. So simply put, being in the present moment, not rehearsing the future or reliving the past in an unhelpful way. And we can stay in the present by connecting with the breath, the body, senses, smell, nature. And even though I say that it's about being in the present moment, sometimes I do visualizations or guided meditations where it is about thinking about the past, but it's about why you'd go back to the past, yeah. And if you're doing a future visualization, it's about how you're doing it in a way that's helpful, as opposed to doing it in a way which raises our anxiety from the point of view of it being worry. Mm-hmm. And then soulfulness, which is an African-centered meditation approach developed by Dr. Shelley Harrell, and there's a picture of her here, who's a clinical psychologist in the USA. And where her slant on this is to say that it's connecting with Africa for the origins and expression of mindfulness, adding seasoning and spice, as she puts it. And it's relating it to the experiences of people of colour, what she calls HOMS, historically oppressed, marginalised, minority status, and or stigmatised. So, and what Dr. Howell's talking about is that there's intergenerational trauma which produces soul wounds, yeah, from which we need to heal. So some of the things that have happened to us really penetrate us at a soul level, yeah. And African cultural methods include creativity, improvisation, the oral method of storytelling, song, giving testimony to our experiences, Anansi stories or Brer Rabbit stories, proverbs, sayings, music, drumming, dancing, communal parties. Can people think of any more?
Drama.
Drama, yes.
Writing.
Did somebody say something then?
Oh, Peter, was that you?
Writing.
Could you repeat that, Peter, please?
Writing.
Writing, yes.
You like
yeah.
writing plays, poetry.
Yeah, and even our ancient Egyptians, they wrote prolifically. They wrote on everything they could find. When it came to the coffins, sarcophagus, on papyrus, inside tombs, on the outside of tombs, inside the pyramids. So there is a long tradition within African culture of writing. Yeah.
She mentioned chanting.
Chanting, yes.
Del, could you repeat that?
Right, comedy.
Comedy, yes.
Yes, laugh at traumatic events. Often we as a community, we tend to do that, laugh at our own traumas and others.
Yes. Yeah. Take a bad thing and make a joke of it, and that's a way of coping with it. Yeah. And I'll see if anybody's put anything in the chat. So, and when it comes to the African origins of contemplative practices, the ancient Egyptian, the early dynasties and later dynasties had high skin pigmentation, so were black. And they had healing practices for raising their consciousness through chanting, poses, the pyramid text, the coffin text on papyrus. This is Imani's territory here. The Book of Coming Forth by Day and the Writings of Pahotep all had contemplative practices. And some of these postures here that we found, kind of like they give indication that they were doing mindfulness back in ancient Egypt. Okay. So the different energies that are attacked by oppression, and it'd be interesting to know whether this resonates with people. Well, physical energy, and if you're drained, you can't move. Yeah. So if you think of the words that even refer to as the N word, and when people mistreat us, there's a reason why they do it in terms of how it benefits them. Because if there's a kind of like compounding effect, eventually it drains your energy that you can't move. Yeah. Emotional energy, you're drained to struggle. If you're drained, you can't withstand the distress. We think that you've got kind of like a bandwidth that you can cope, but if you're stretched beyond it, then emotionally people then become irritable, react rather than to respond, because they're taken outside their comfort zone just too often. Cognitive energy, people are drained, they can't focus, they can't problem solve. I don't know whether you can think of any situation that you've been in, that you've been so panicked that you can't think straight. And if it wasn't for the fact that you've become aroused, you may be able to problem solve the situation a lot better. And we need spiritual energy, which is energy from connection to a deeply held set of values, and a purpose beyond our self-interest, because that's what can sometimes get us through a difficult situation. Any thoughts about that? I mean, do you agree with it, or any additions to it? And this is a useful diagram that's talking about the effect of energy and mood. So if you're highly negative, yeah, in terms of negative mood, yeah, and high energy, then people like to become angry, fearful, anxious, defensive, and resentful. Yeah, but if you've got a negative mood and low energy, that's when people tend to become depressed, exhausted, burnt out, hopeless, and defeated. If you've got high energy and a positive mood, then that's when people are likely to be invigorated, confident, feeling challenged in a good way, joyful and connected. But if you've got a positive mood and low energy, then people will feel maybe relaxed, mellow, peaceful, tranquil, and serene. So basically what this model is saying is that we sometimes need to target our energy, that we can make our moods productive for us. Yeah, to say that for example, when you're high mood, it can be either that you kind of be you can be feeling relaxed or invigorated, and we can do something to kind of like change our energy, which can sometimes then change our mood as well. Any thoughts about this? And this is the work of also Joe Dispenza, and he talks about energy a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's a really helpful model to think about changing your energy. Thank you.
Good, yes. Right. So how do we raise our vibration so that healing from trauma can take place? Oh, I'll just check the chat. What's in there? Okay. Well, thank you. So got this here, your energy vibration scale. So you've got things like shame and humiliation down here at the bottom. Then you've got grief, fear, courage, readiness, love and intuition, peace and enlightenment. And basically what this is saying, that when people are low in energy and working from their kind of like their lower consciousness, yeah, that's when people can be quite destructive to themselves or to others. But when people raise their energy, raise their vibration, so within your body, you can be vibrating at different frequencies. So when they've done, infrared imaging of people, they can kind of like see the kind of like the radiator around them, the sort of heat, the energy that the people are giving off. And music can be at different tempos, yeah, and can be part of what raises your vibration. So when people get into a high vibration state, that's when people can have flow moments, yeah. There's a book on flow, how people can then be able to access their kind of like peak performance experiences, that type of thing. So it's about, if people raise their vibration, that's when they'll be able to function at a more optimal level. Okay. So here we've got raising our vibration, learning from our African ancestors. So some of these things have been mentioned before. Are there any that people want to add to this? We've got here, like, people have mentioned about journaling, gratitude lists, gardening, which can be connecting with the land, pharmacy of spices in terms of the different herbs that you eat. Got the Adinka symbols there. Religious, spiritual practices.
Someone
Laughter.
says hot sex.
Yes. Laughter, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what I want us to do is we've got about 5 minutes so that I'll put you into a breakout room for. I know it says 10 minutes, but if we could do it in 5 minutes, Tunde, is that okay? And then what I want people to do is to discuss strategies that you can do to alter your vibration. So that would be to lower or to raise your vibration, dependent on what's going on for you. So would I need to stop the... right. So that you should be invited to join a breakout room, and then I shall time 5 minutes, if that's okay. So can people see invitations to join a breakout room? And perhaps if we pause the recording for 5 minutes, if we had more time, we'd expand that, and we'd have more opportunity for people to feedback. And we're just having a discussion with Will in the break, and it's likely that I'm going to put something on, like a full day, that can really give people the opportunity to explore this. So if I go back to the presentation, okay, yeah.
How time do we have left, Erica?
I think have we got 15 minutes left? Is that
great?
Okay. Is that what people are thinking? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, inner peace despite the outer wall. So this is going to be just a quick meditation you may want to close your eyes and listen to.
Please let me feel inner peace from my center, at the center of me. Please let me feel inner peace from my center, at the center of me. Please let me feel inner peace from my center, at the center of me. Please let me feel inner peace from my center, at the center of me. My heart is open, I am aware, in me is a knowing, love, 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 my heart is open, I am aware, in me is a knowing.
How's that? Yeah, see lots of smiling faces. Okay.
Yeah, I've downloaded the album.
All right, good. Good.
It's very relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very relaxing.
So what I do is I have, when changing activities in the day, I have a mindful moment between activities, because what I used to do is I'd rush from one thing to another thing to another thing and then end up burning myself out by the end of the day. And if I'd done everything on my agenda for that day, I think, right, I'll do what I'm meant to do tomorrow as well. So what I do is I will listen to a mindful piece of music, a soulful piece of music like that, just in between things to down-regulate myself. And then I can go on to the next thing. So staying in your window of tolerance. So when you need to calm yourself, here's some ideas about guided meditation, mindfulness, massage, relaxing scents, aromatherapy, time in nature, breathing control, singing, because for some people holding a long breath, it's like a long breath out and a long note, yeah. Relaxing music, yin yoga, and there's restorative yoga as well, where in yin yoga you can hold a pose and then you relax. And then when that would be to calm you down if you're kind of like highly agitated. If you need to, I suppose, uplift yourself and become energized because you're feeling like you're dissociating, you're feeling numb, and you're feeling spaced out, brain fog, that can be dancing, high tempo music, drumming, seasoned food, stimulating scents, deep tissue massage, comedy, that was mentioned by somebody, and drinking water comes into all of this, yeah. And then things to stay in your window of tolerance. What would be your prescription for your wellness? Yeah, things that you do on a regular basis. We've got meet with like-minded others, like we're doing here. Time and solitude, learning, studying your own culture, inspirational books, podcasts, YouTube, pursuing a passion, spiritual or religious time, journaling, affirmations. I write affirmations down, meditation, know thyself a dinka cards, and I think have been mentioned quite a few times by people as a wellness tool. Somatic movement, healthy eating, savouring the good, herbal teas, activism can be a form of keeping well. Retreats, work, rest and play. So make sure you have a retreat that can time to kind of like give your nervous system time to recover before the next onslaught. Storytelling, sharing your experiences, Tai Chi or chanting, energy healing, artist dates where you kind of like take yourself away somewhere. You don't wait for somebody else to take you on a date, you take yourself on a date somewhere. And sometimes if it's something from your childhood that you used to enjoy, it can be good for you. Creaming your skin, which is about kind of like, and tapping can be good. Any thoughts on that?
Lots of rich material in there to connect with, and some of them I already pursue, and there's more. There's more as well. Drinking water is really powerful, by the way.
Yes, that's why drinking water is in all of these. Drinking water, yes.
Yeah, hydration does help the body to calm down.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna a quick meditation that I'm going to read. And it'd be interesting to know if people find it resonates with them. So what is oppression of Black minds, bodies and spirits? So oppression of Black people is not always direct discrimination. It is often denying us our joy, not giving credit when it is due, minimizing our contributions, experiences and life events. It's using us for a wider agenda. It's harsher sanctions for allowable weaknesses, harsher sanctions for being ourselves, and harsher sanctions for just speaking up for ourselves. It's tying us and our energy up in systems to wear us out. It's denying us our rights. It's letting others know the system so they navigate it better. It's not acting when obvious oppression exists, which leaves Black people suffering. It's making Black people feel uncomfortable when doing the right thing, so we feel more at ease doing the wrong thing. It's calling HR on Black folks, the police or any authority, rather than to respect and resolve issues. It's trying our patience, then accusing us of aggression in a system weaponized against us. It's misunderstanding what you are and making up the bits you don't, so it creates evidence for deficiency, disease, or bad behaviour. It's creating the need for a Black Lives Matter movement, civil rights movement, or whatever needs to come next. It's silencing us when we ask for help, as it's too painful and guilt-inducing for you to hear our lived realities. It's Black women needing to say, ain't I a woman? Don't I deserve to be seen as in need of tender care, comfort, and people backing off from use of white tears? It's Black men needing to say, I am a man, even though you may dehumanize me in your mind to be 3/5 of one. Oppression of the spirit of Black people is often creating fear in us, so we rarely rest, are denied joy, and have to fight to experience the conditions where we can vibrate at a frequency where flow moments readily happen. But we know what is happening and can drink deep from the well of African thought, practice, and culture to renew ourselves, rest ourselves, and recover. Because radical self-care lives here, as our being belongs here, as we become everything our ancestors visioned for us and more. So let us lift as we climb and say, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
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 Ashe. Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Erica McInnis.
We've got a little bit more to go. Any reflections on the mantra? Oh, I should have said
great.
On the meditation. Does it resonate with people's experiences? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods there. Okay. Okay. I'll just play a little bit of this, and we've got a few more slides before we finish.
Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for your blessings. Your guidance is wise indeed. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for your blessings.
It's a pity I can't play more of it because I'm just aware of the time. And I do want to, so I'm sorry for cutting that off. I just want to tell you about some of the wellness products before we finish. There is the African-centered Wellness Journal, which has got over 150 quotes from people of African ancestry that you can get. You can get it from Etsy or my own website here. And it's got wellness kind of like worksheets at the back of it, as well as prompts to inspire you through the day. Know Thyself Adinka cards. You can get these from Amazon, Etsy, eBay, or my own website. And they can be good for use for meditations, or people can use them as journaling prompts or icebreakers. There's the post-pandemic planning workbook, which is about how to use the culture of African cultures as a wellness tool. There's some online courses that I've devised that are available here, nwah.learnworlds.com, if you want to know more about African psychology. And before we finish, what is it that we're trying to what is it we're trying to achieve?
Our magic is in our love and tears, our fears and our flyness.
I do my hair toss, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Woo, child, tired of the foolish. Gone, dust your shoulders off. Keep it moving, yeah, slow. Step into some new kicks. In there, swimwear, going to the pool quick. Come now, come dry your eyes. You know you a star, you can touch the sky. I know that it's hard, but you have to try. If you need advice, let me simplify. All Black women, we can take pride in who we are. We can change the world. We've already started.
You must never be defeated, ever.
I do my hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feel?
I am black and proud.
The future belongs to all of us. Baby, how you feeling?
Okay, feeling good. So, I'm interested to know what are people's thoughts now. How are you feeling? If people want to...
Erica, would you mind stop sharing your screen so everybody can see you?
Oh, yes.
Could everybody... I'm going to turn the recording off now. So thank you, Erica.
Thank you.
But nobody leave, please. I just want everyone to